The old woman's hands trembled as she clutched the last 2 coins. They were all she had, and the hunger gnawing at her stomach was a cruel, relentless fire. For days, she had survived on scraps, but today, there was nothing. With a heavy heart, she wrapped herself in a thin shawl and shuffled toward the bustling marketplace. Her destination wasn't the baker's, as one might expect, but the small, quiet mosque on the edge of town. Inside, she found the imam, a man known for his wisdom and compassion. His name was Ibn Abbas. He was one of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He listened patiently as the old woman, her voice a thin whisper, explained her predicament. She didn't ask for charity. Instead, she asked a question. Imam, what is the value of sabr, patience, and tawakkul, reliance on Allah, when the world feels so empty? Ibn Abbas looked at her, his eyes filled with kindness. He didn't offer a sermon or a long explanation. He simply said, "My dear mother, what you hold in your hand is worth far more than gold. It is a test. Go to the marketplace and buy 2 things. With the first coin, buy the most fragrant flour you can find. With the second, buy the finest bread." The old woman was puzzled. How could a flour and a loaf of bread help her? But she trusted the imam's wisdom. With a shaky resolve, she did as he said. She bought a single, beautiful rose, its petals of vibrant crimson, and a small loaf of fresh bread. The scent of the rose was intoxicating, a sweet balm to her weary soul. The bread, warm and soft, felt like a lifeline. She returned to the mosque, the items held close to her chest. Ibn Abbas smiled. "Now," he said softly, "take the rose and give it to the first person you see who looks sad and alone, and take the bread and eat it. Both are a form of sustenance." Following his instructions, she walked out into the dusty streets. She soon saw a young boy sitting on a curb, tears streaming down his face. He was an orphan, and he was hungry not just for food, but for affection. The old woman knelt beside him and, with a trembling hand, offered him the rose. The boy's eyes widened. He took the flower and buried his face in its petals, a small, grateful smile replacing his tears. He had never received such a beautiful gift. The old woman then went to a quiet corner and ate the bread. It was the most delicious meal she had ever had, not just because it filled her stomach, but because she had shared her last act of love before tending to her own needs. Later that day, a wealthy merchant, who had witnessed the old woman giving the rose to the orphan boy, approached her. He was a kind man who had been struggling with his own personal sadness, and seeing her act of selflessness had moved him deeply. "I saw what you did," he said, his voice full of respect. "That was an act of pure ihsan, perfection or excellence in deeds. Please, take this." He handed her a pouch filled with silver coins, more than she could have ever dreamed of. The old woman fell to her knees, weeping tears of gratitude. She returned to the mosque to thank Ibn Abbas. "Imam," she said, "you were right. The value of my patience was not in the coins themselves, but in my trust that Allah would provide, and in my willingness to give even when I had nothing." Ibn Abbas nodded gently. "Yes," he said. "The bread filled your stomach, but the rose, given with a pure heart, opened a door to a blessing you could not have imagined. Giving when you have little is the truest form of devotion, and Allah will always multiply the rewards of those who trust in Him." Moral of the story. This story teaches us that true wealth isn't measured in what we possess, but in the love and compassion we are willing to share with others, especially when we are in a state of need ourselves. The old woman's sabr, patience, and tawakkul, reliance on Allah, were tested, and her act of ihsan, excellence in action, led to an unexpected and bountiful reward. It reminds us that blessings often come in forms we don't expect, and that the smallest acts of kindness can have the most profound impact.